So with that, we'll move on to our agenda. We just finished with our welcome and introductions. We'll have a segment on journey to the United States, followed by a segment on healthy meals from Latin American countries, some resources, and then we have an open floor for community announcements. So let me turn it over to Anthony Nolan and his colleagues for this segment here.
I'm not going to take much time, but one of the efforts that the department makes is to offer trainings internally to promote better understanding and with regard to the various people that work with us, and then a better understanding of how to better interact, collaborate, work, grow with as part of our agency. We're a very large agency, over 1,000 career staff and several thousand part-time staff. So it's critical for us to really work through on our communication with regard to just trying to have a well-run organization. With that, one of the latest programs that we went through had to deal with changing demographics. And as part of that, a number of employees shared their story of coming to America. And I invited Carlos Flores. I've known him for many years, but I didn't know him. And he shared a very powerful message. And I just thought it was very important for folks that work and serve in the community to have a better understanding of some of the backstories of our residents. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Carlos.
Good afternoon, everyone. As I mentioned, my name is Carlos Flores, and I was born in Guatemala. I originally came to the United States when I was 6 years old. A little bit about my journey. So originally, again, as I mentioned, I was born in Guatemala. I am the youngest of three. My mom initially immigrated to the United States when I was a couple months old. She actually left us behind in order to come to the United States for a better living and be able to provide for us. At the age of 6, well, first off, she immigrated illegally to the United States the first time around. And then at the age of 6, she returned back to Guatemala to pretty much get my brother and my sister and myself again to bring us to the United States. Now, I always share this story because there are many parents and many stories that I've heard of before in the past of parents who have immigrated to the United States and they decide to leave their kids behind and just provide money by sending money home. And that's one of the things that my mom, we always talk about, that she had the option of doing that, but she decided that she needed to bring her kids with her. So she decided to go back to Guatemala and immigrate again, this time with her 2 children, myself and my brother. We are 4 years apart. So I was 6 years old. You guys can do the math how old my brother was from there. We came to the United States illegally. Again, we crossed the Mexican border to come to the United States. It took us about a 3-month process to get over to the United States, twice at least being lied to or having our money stolen by coyotes who were with promises of bringing us to the United States. During our journey, at one point, we were told we were in the United States, but weren't. We were still actually in Mexico. And at that point, pretty much my mom had no money, nothing else left but just her 2 kids. We were literally stranded in a country that we didn't know. Luckily, an older couple took notice of my mom with her 2 kids, and they took us in. We stayed with them for a little bit over 2 weeks or so, if I can remember correctly, until we were able to gather money to try to cross the border again. Eventually, we did cross over the border through the Rio Grande. I remember my mom was put through on an inner tube. I was laid on top of her as a 6-year-old. We were crossed over. We made it across over to the United States first. My brother then was next up. The guy who actually was crossing him over actually got a cramp on his leg. So when he got a cramp in his leg, he then pulled on the inner tube, which then flipped my brother over. My brother then was swept by the river. Lucky for him, again, and thanks to God, we were able to find him, and he was safely and sound. But as I'm sure you can imagine, my mom was crazy and yelling and my son, my son, my son. But again, only to be told to be quiet or hush up because of the fact that we were crossing over illegally and immigration could hear us. And if they could hear my mom, everybody would get caught. My mom was the only woman in a group of 17 men, and she was the only woman with 2 kids who was traveling with that group. Eventually, we made it over to the United States. We initially made it to, we were brought over to California initially, where we were there for about a week or so, where then we caught a flight over to DC, which is where originally my mother was living with her boyfriend, now my stepdad or my dad. That was our journey. And as a person who came to this country not knowing one word of English, only knowing Spanish as my first language, it was difficult to be in a country, obviously, that is new both to me, and I didn't know anyone or knew the language, knew anything. But that was part of the journey that my mom knew that had to happen in order for us to be where we are today. As Anthony mentioned, luckily for me, I am what you would call a success story. The Parks and Recreation, we joke around sometimes with my office. I am what you would call a child of Parks and Recreation. When I came over to the United States, when we lived in DC, we initially moved to Prince George's County to Langley Park. So I lived right off of 14th Street. So a lot of the people that you guys probably speak of that you helped, my family was probably one of those families that got assistance in one way or another. I'll be honest with you, I do remember probably going to every coat drive that we could, that we needed to go to get a coat, but we were that family. We were those families that you guys assist, that you guys reach out to. So I guess if you take away anything from my story, is just know that the impact that you guys do, or the work that you guys do, where maybe you might not get to hear from those people years and years later, but just know that that you guys cause an impact in everything that you guys do, whether it's providing information, better living, or even resources, or putting them in contact with someone else. That's kind of how I got here. I got to the Department of Parks and Recreation because my mom wanted me to participate in some sort of program. And she said, look, there's a building down the street at Langley Park, go figure out what they do there and sign up for something, right? And that's kind of how I got there. And I participated in programs. I participated in the Stream Teens event. Eventually, I was old enough to be able to volunteer. Even at that point, I wasn't allowed to work in the United States because I was still illegal. Luckily for my mom, we were able to file all the paperwork and everything that we needed in order to follow the rules and be successful here. And then eventually, once I was able to work, or was old enough to work, 16 in a couple months, I was able to be hired at Langley Park, where I started working as a child care provider. So I was taking care of the kids in kids care. Eventually, I moved up to the front desk, and then kind of just went up from there. And they haven't been able to get rid of me, and I haven't been able to get rid of them as well. So again, as I mentioned, I've been in the commission now for about 15 plus years or so, as a full-time career staff, about 5 years. And again, there's one message that I encourage you guys to just keep doing the work that you guys are doing. Whether you guys know it or not, you guys are impacting families one way or another, whether it's providing, like you guys said, meal plans or whatever it is, it causes an impact. And you may not know it in that moment, but there are people like myself who are grateful for all those opportunities that we were given, whether it's coats or food drives or whatever that we received. It's because of all of those resources that I'm still here. So thank you to you guys.
Thank you so much, Carlos.
Thank you so much. Carlos, are you open for comments or questions?
Sure, absolutely. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to help out.
Just seeing in the chat, what an amazing story. Thank you for being so open and sharing.
Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you.
Does anyone else like to share anything related? We have a
So,
lot
you
of
know, just,
comments in the
yeah,
chat just thanking
yeah.
you, Carlos. And what
Thank
a
you,
brave
guys.
woman your mother was.
Yes, I always tell people the fact, you know, my mom could have easily just decided to, like I said, provide money, which plenty of families do that. And there's plenty of stories that I'm sure you heard or you know of parents that do send money back home. But again, my mom decided that she wanted to have her kids here and decided to take the journey twice. And that in itself is goes a lot. So yeah, thank you guys.
I just want to say thank you, Carlos, for sharing that.
Absolutely.
That is so, it's so, you know, it is so important because it makes me appreciate my transition a lot better because my mother came here on a visa also, but she was working, and when she sent for us, we didn't have to go through that passage that you went through. So I appreciate it, and I have to tell my mother and share your story with her, because she went through Venezuela, which is a Spanish country, and didn't know the language either, learned the language before she came to the United States. So we had a different passageway. We came in on a legal status, on a green card, as they call it. And just hearing your story really make me appreciate, you know, the pathway that our parents, what they went through to get us here, and to show that we utilize the resources that got us here to help those who are in need. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. And again, I encourage you guys to keep doing exactly what you guys are doing, because it's beneficial for those families. And I heard, you know, some of the comments that you guys said that the one thing I will say that the hardest people sometimes to reach out to is those people that don't know the language. So I encourage you guys to find ways to reach out to those people. I will say one of the things about the Hispanic community is that I would say we like to stick to our own people, mostly because we're shy or we're scared to even share our stories. Lucky for me, again, I am able to share my story, but mine is just one story out of 100 trillion different stories that, and again, my story is a success story, I would say, but I'm sure there's a lot of stories out there of people who weren't as lucky as my mom was to be able to bring us here and become residents and now citizens of the United States. And there's people out there who are still, you know, in need of this help. So again, I encourage you guys to keep working with the community and reaching out to those people that need the most help, for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
I have a question, Carlos, and thank you for your story. I cried a little bit. It was just so moving. But I wonder, you know, I know you mentioned that your stepdad was here whenever you and your mom and brother came back, but were there other networks that, you know, you tapped into for support, you know, beyond like Parks and Rec, but other community networks? Because I'm thinking about, you know, outreach we should be doing, or, you know, kind of networks we should be working with more closely, so that, you know, we're able to reach other folks in our community that we may not be connected with right now.
I will say, as I mentioned kind of briefly, was I to this day still remember a coat drive coming to Langley Park, and I don't know where that came from or how it's about, but I know that for sure that like my mom and I definitely have spoke about it, where a truck just kind of pulled up to 14th Street on Langley Park, and they just opened up and they were like, "We have free coats." And I just remember there was a huge line of people, and I got this huge brown coat that was probably 2 sizes bigger than what I needed. But my mom was like, "Good, you can grow into it." So again, I don't even know where that coat drive was from or whatever the case is, but I know that there's a lot of food drives that they do like at Langley Park, where the food kind of just arrives there and people go there. So I feel like those are the type of resources that especially the Hispanic community kind of benefits from, where they kind of go to them, because I feel like even when you're raised in a specific way of a family community, it's not easy to sometimes go up to maybe a food drive and say, hey guys, I need help, or I need this, or whatever the case is. Sometimes it takes an organization or something to say, hey, this is what we offer, here we are, kind of in your face, for those communities to say, you know what, okay, I do need the help. So those kind of organizations or groups that are in the community, not just available to the community, because I feel like that makes a difference. That putting it out there and making yourself available is I think is what makes the difference for I speak for my family, for at least for ourselves, that it was there and it literally almost came to our front door, and that's how we were able to have coats that winter, which is insane to think about, but that's what got us through the winter that year. And actually, if I think back, it was winter of '96, and if you guys remember the blizzard of '96, it was probably around that year.
Thank you. Final thoughts, comments, or questions?
I just want to thank Carlos for that. I mean, it's really touching, and so great. And how's your mom doing?
Oh, my mom is great, and honestly, one of the things that I'm most grateful to is having the mom that I have, because of the fact that everything that I have right now is because of my mom. And anytime I start talking about my mom, I get a little bit emotional because, again, she could have decided to not have me here. She could have decided to leave me back at home and provide for me in many different ways. But my mom is my superhero, right? My mom, literally everything that I have, everything even from my career, I always say I wouldn't have ended up at Langley Park Community Center if she probably wasn't tired of me to say, go over there, go find out what they're doing over there. And like, that's kind of how I'm here. I'm still here. And Langley Park Community Center is one of those community centers that is very close to my heart. My mom is an amazing mom, and even to this day, in any way, in any format that I can show her that I can provide for her or root for her or whatever it is to show her that everything that she's done was not in vain. Everything that I have, everything from my car, from my career, to where I live, to my home, is because of the fact that she laid a foundation for my brother and I to be able to build on that. So, and again, you guys as the resources are great people that provide resources. So again, I encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because there are people like myself out there who are success stories because of women like my mom and groups like you guys that are able to provide. And my mom is the most amazing. I'll give her a quick shout out. Her name is Sandra Mendez. And again, she's an amazing woman. And I would do anything for her at this point, pretty much.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Shaybel, last comment on this section.
Yes, well, needless to say, I mean, it's very touching as, you know, as an immigrant and as a mother, yeah, in many dimensions, and yeah, all what you have been shared is very touching. You know, only, yeah, I mean, I would, yeah. There is so much we could say about that, and I only because we only wanted to share with you all that Catholic Charities, and I'm sure that many of you already know that, has a program for the newcomers, and also a program to support the immigrant community legally, and, you know, through many resources pertaining to food, clothing, dental assistance. So because share is under Catholic Charities, if you know anyone who needs help in that regard, feel free to call us, and we will refer it to one of those programs.
Great, thank you. Thank you once again, Carlos.
Thank you guys, and I put my information in the chat if anybody wants to reach out to me with any questions or anything. Again, I'm open if you guys need anything.
Very much appreciate it. Right, so we are going to go to our next segment, to Josefina, to talk about some healthy meals from Hispanic countries.
Thank you. Let me see if I can share my screen. But yes, I want to thank Carlos. I was definitely crying. You me brought tears to my eyes. You know, I'm a daughter of immigrants as well, and just like you, I'm just, you know, proud and grateful for my mother and the journey. And you know, thank you so much for sharing. I don't know if you can see this. No, you probably can't because but I have this mug that says "Hija de Inmigrantes." So let me share my screen. Okay, so for today, I was invited to, you know, join this group, this wonderful group. I'm so glad I'm here today, and to talk a little bit about, you know, Latin food. So this is something I've prepared for Hispanic Heritage Month, to share a little bit about El Sabor Latino, our Latin flavors. So let me, it's a condensed version, so I might, you know, skip over some slides just for the sake of time. So to start off, I just wanted to go over, you know, Latin America, the different countries that comprise Latin America. And in the slides, I have divided, kind of grouped together some regions. So for North America, I have, you know, Mexico, Guatemala, so more, sorry, let me get my pointer here. So this region up here, where it's Mexico, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama. And then the Caribbean with Cuba, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and I've included Haiti, Northern South America, so the northern part of South America, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Peru, French Guiana, and Bolivia. And then the southern region, which is Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay. So there are some common staples throughout Latin America that kind of, you know, ties all the Americas together. And these are going to be things like beans. So beans is a really popular staple throughout, and you'll see that different regions and different countries might, you know, prepare them differently, use different seasonings, or eat them with, you know, like in Mexico and maybe some countries in Central America like Guatemala and Salvador, Honduras, they might use it, you know, a lot with tortillas, where more in the South, there's just more with rice. And even though, you know, in these other regions, you have it with rice as well. But in some other countries, you don't really see tortillas. So beans are, you know, a great source of fiber, iron, protein. It's a powerhouse. And then another one would be like rice, potato, and corn. So that's another common staple that provides that primary carbohydrate source. And then you'll see onions and garlics commonly throughout as aromatics, and then limes or lemons as a citrusy flavor to add. So just to highlight, I'm just going to highlight a couple of dishes, you know, in certain regions. So here, for like the North American Latin dishes, we have enchiladas, which are really, enchiladas, which are really common and popular in Mexico. It's one of my favorites, one of my favorite, you know, meals. And then you have pupusas, which we'll see a lot, and those are from Salvador, and you know, it could come with different fillings inside, whether that's cheese, it could be beans, it could be pork. And then in the bottom, you know, a typical Nicaragua meal would be something with a protein or a meat like chicken or pork, or fresh seafood, and then maybe plantains, rice, and beans. And they're in that region, they call their rice and beans like mixed together as gallo pinto. And just to highlight some, Latin staple benefits in this region, we have cinnamon, which is, great with antioxidants, is packed with antioxidants, has, anti-inflammatory properties. Some studies have shown that it helps with your HDL, increases your HDL, which is that good cholesterol. And then also it improves your body's sensitivity to insulin. So it kind of helps also with managing your blood sugar. So cinnamon, it's really great if you can add it to, I found ways to add it, either to oatmeal and I'm blanking out right now. But yeah, to like peanut butter, cereal, to your drinks as well. And then jicama is a root vegetable. Some say it's a cross between a potato and a pear. And if you haven't tried it, I highly encourage you to try it. The way that it's typically eaten might be with some lime and salt, or like chili. Or you could make a jicama salad with it as well, add it to your salads. So this is a great root vegetable because it is low in carbohydrates and it's also low in calories. So 1 cup is 49 calories and it has 6 grams of fiber. So it's a really, really good source of fiber. And with a cup, you also get 44% of your daily recommended intake for vitamin C. So it's really rich in vitamin C. And then dark chocolate, this is a great way to get, antioxidants, also to, kind of kick that sweetness. And you get those great benefits from 70% or higher in the cacao. So it's, good for our heart. It also has iron, which I didn't know till, I looked at the labels at the nutrition facts. And then there's a lot of things, luckily, if you're going, go into the international aisle, there's a lot of things you can find at the store to kind of create these Latin flavors and dishes at home. And chayote is one of them that, if you see it at the store, it's very similar to like a zucchini or squash. So if, sometimes it's a good replacement for it. If I see that this is on sale or to get a better price, like that's just kind of my tip for you. This is, it'll be a fun new kind of vegetable to try. And then at giantfood.com/savory, we have a lot of recipes, and this is one of my favorite. I actually love curtido. It's a cabbage slaw, and this is really common to eat with pupusas. So you can make it at home. The longer it sits, the better it tastes. So highly encourage you to try this. And again, you can find this on our website at giantfood.com/savory. And then here, we're going into the Caribbean. So some Latin staple benefits here with coconut, they're high in magnesium, copper, iron, selenium, and then trying to use the spices. So spices are really high in antioxidants, and many of them have anti-inflammatory benefits. So using all these different herbs and spices. And then with avocados, so the avocados in the tropical region are different. They, different than like what we see a lot here, like the Hass avocados, which are the small ones. But these are larger. They have a little more water content, but they're still great for sources of fiber and unsaturated fats. So if you're looking for some recipes and some inspiration, ropa vieja, this is actually one of my favorite Cuban cuisines. I didn't share a little bit about myself, but my mom is Mexican, and she migrated by herself to the US when she was 12 years old to work in this country. And she met my stepfather, who raised me, and he's Cuban. So I was born in Texas, was there for 5 years, and then we moved to Miami. So I have a lot of Cuban influence. And so this is a very popular Cuban recipe, and you can find it. If you've never tried it, I highly encourage you to try it. You can find the recipe online at Giant Food. And then pastelón, this is very common in Puerto Rico. So this is kind of like a lasagna, except they're using plantains instead of pasta. And mofongo, which is like This is like mashed potato, but instead they're using plantains, they're mashing that. And this is also from the Caribbean. You'll find this in the Dominican Republic and in Puerto Rico. So some of these staples that you could find at the store, you see like this is the bigger, more of a tropical avocado, and then yuca that you can buy like fresh or frozen, and then some that you could buy in the refrigerator section, like plantains and tostones. And if you need me to speed up or kind of if we're short on time, let me know, okay?
Yeah, we have about 4 or 5 minutes left for your
Okay.
segment.
Perfect. So another recipe, you can never go wrong with beans and rice. So you got great source of protein, carbohydrates. So this is a stewed pink beans and rice, and this is a recipe for Puerto Rico. So now going to South America, this is the region, the northern region. So here, really common, we have quinoa, chia, and cumin. So quinoa is a great source of protein. It's a complete protein with all of the essential amino acids. And then chia, it's a great source of omega-3 and fiber. So here you'll see arepas, that Venezuela, Colombian have, as well as ceviches is really fun, delicious, popular dish. Pico lo macho, lomo saltado, some of the Peruvian dishes. And then if you're trying to, try this at home, you can get some of the, ingredients that are common to use in these recipes. So ají amarillo and this rocoto, this is like for the Peruvian dishes, and filos, they have different beans that are already seasoned with Latin flavors. So this is Peruvian lentils. And yeah, you can, try cheeses from different parts of Latin America as well. And a sweet and savory quinoa with chicken. And then I guess just kind of to go over. So this is Latin America, the southern region. So empanadas, chivito, meat, and chimichurri. So trying to, bring those home. In this region, you'll find a lot of wine. So like the wine region in Chile and Argentina, with red wine having great antioxidants. If you want chimichurri sauce, empanadas, and then a recipe with grilled veggies with chimichurri sauce. So giving your veggies a little bit of a Latin flavor and mix there. And then lastly, keeping it all balanced, trying to have half of our plate with fruits and vegetables, a quarter of that with grains and proteins, and then just giving some ideas that, we can still have half of our plate with produce. There's a lot of, Latin dishes and recipes that, do include vegetables that will allow us to have half of our plate with produce. And then Giant on our, savory magazine does have a Hispanic Heritage Month collection. So if you're interested in that, just go to giantfood.com and then you'll see their Hispanic Heritage Month collection. And I would like to just share our resources really quick. If, just for you or for your community members, we have a lot of nutrition classes online. And we're, going out into the community slowly, but we're starting to go into the community as well. And we have a Facebook group and a podcast. So all of this is free to the community. So feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in partnering or have any, thoughts, questions, or ideas.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have a lot of requests for your slides. Is this something you can share, at least some parts of them?
Yeah, I can definitely convert it into a PDF and share it.
Wonderful. Thank you. And you can either send that to me or Megan, who helped set this up.
Okay, let me stop sharing. Let's see how I do that. Okay, here.
I think if I start, it'll automatically stop you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I just want to wrap up with just a few other resources and local celebrations. So we'll send out these slides. We found this link to dietary guidelines around the world, and I just thought it was interesting how they portrayed it. So you have in Mexico, similar to our My Plate. In Guatemala, they had this family pot or family, I'm not even sure what that thing's called in English. It's a big pot. In Peru, they talked about biodiversity and the natural land in their dietary guidelines, which I thought was really cool. And then in Dominican Republic, they have the mortar and pestle of nutrition, which I thought it was really cool. The foundation, the base here is starting with breastfeeding. So that's something we don't see in My Plate. So, when you're working with different clients, I know there's a lot of nutrition educators on here. Check it out. You might be able to find some different images, and metaphors and things to relate to people. And then finally, I know we have a lot of Parks and Rec friends on the line here. So I went through and pulled out some of the events that have to do with the more active events. So the things that have to do with music and dance, a couple of dance events. There's also a lot of other lectures and things, but this being Heal, I stuck to the activity ones. There's a lot of stuff going on. A soccer tournament this Sunday. So these slides will go out. Concert, and this is some of them are registration only because of capacity limits. But we've got the links there. But I just want to say thank you for attending. What a moving and interesting meeting. So glad everybody could join us. Want to make a pitch for our other subcommittees. We have healthy food priority areas coming up tomorrow, and we will be working on putting together our next steps to do our map update to healthy food priority areas map. And now that we'll be getting census data, and then the food as medicine subcommittee was mentioned. Pilot project to get giant produce vouchers out through certain physician practices. So linking, when your doctor says you need to eat better, having a resource for that. So I thank you so much. It's 1 o'clock. I know we're all hungry now. So I will let you all go. The slides will come out along with the notes and the introductions that people put in the chat. But thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
This is great.
Thank you. Wonderful program.
Great meeting. Thank you.